and Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the first episode of AFS Talks. How are you all? Today, we are here with our business teacher who's been working with us for the past 2 years, Sir Yusuf. So how are you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. It's a pleasure to be here for me as well. And it's a pleasure for me as well to be the first host on this AFS Talk show. And I hope it goes good.
That's nice. So one thing that I have been really curious about, and I think many of the students are, do teachers really have a favorite student?
That's a very good question, and I've been asked this question so many times before, and I still have students who ask me this question every single day, but I keep it the same generic answer that for me, all my students are equal at the end of the day. Why? Because me at the point or the position of a teacher, I think that I cannot do favorites. If I do favorites, then that won't be fair with the other students. And I think that if I take an equal class, my students are all equal, I could, keep improving, keep developing each of my students, and I won't play favorites. I want, because the students' emotions are very valued, and I feel like, students' emotions are something that you have to really be careful about, and because they're growing, they're learning, and if you be for example, let's say if I play favorites with my students and one of my students does not like that, he's going to have a grudge with me for the rest of his life, and he might not trust me again, or we might not have that same bond again, even though maybe after that I try to develop that bond, but I don't think he would trust me the same. And I really feel like I should take an equal class, and I should my students should all be equal. I should give equal importance to each and every student.
Yeah, I get that, and I love how you value the equality over favoritism.
That's exactly my point, because right now there are many students there are some students who lack in knowledge, there are some students who are very good in knowledge, there are some students who are very naughty, and there are some students who respect you a lot, but at the end of the day, they're all your students, right? And if you start playing favorites with them, for example, let's say if I have a naughty student in my class, right? So if I start playing favorites with the student who starts to respect me, that naughty student will always feel that thing in his heart that the teacher completely ignored me. And that's something I cannot live by with. And that's something that I face, and I don't want anyone else to face. So that's why I feel like, students are all equal, give equal importance to each and every one of them, and, be good with them. Be like a good friend to them.
Very nice. Now, one thing that I think all of us are curious about, what's something that student thinks about teachers that's completely wrong?
Okay, so this is something that's very funny for me, because I am a person who likes to go out, and I'm a person who likes to go for a good coffee. I like to sit alone. I like to spend my time alone, go for a good coffee and enjoy my time. So I have been to these good places in Faisalabad, those named places. So I try to go to these places and enjoy my coffee. So what's happened is I've met many students over the time. So whenever I go out, it's a record of mine that I've always met a student of mine somewhere. And the first question, it's happened to me a couple of times. So the student comes and tells me, "Sir, aap idhar?" I'm like, of course, I'm not a human. I don't have any right to enjoy myself. So the thing is that the students think that the teachers do not have any life after school, and that's what their whole life revolves around with. At 8 o'clock, get up, get suited, take a shower, go to class, take your classes, go back home, and you're done with the day. That's what students really think about me. But for me, I enjoy my weekends a lot. I go out a lot. I go out with my friends. I keep roaming around. I like to travel a lot. So the students think that after school they have no life at all, and that's something I really don't believe in. And I feel like I have a very good life even if I'm a teacher. I like to go out.
I think somewhere I thought that too, that teachers have no life after school, which is wrong. Next up, I think I thought about this a lot. What's a moment where a student completely surprised you in a funny way?
So, I've had many of those moments, and I have had many of those these moments of mine over the years. But there's this one specific moment, till this date, I've had this student of mine when I was in a previous organization. It's very rare to find this thing especially nowadays, that you establish a very good bond with your students, and your students and the teacher, that relation, that trust is very good, and that's something that I really value and I really appreciate in today's day and time, because that's something that takes you a very long way. So I had this student a while back. This is around a year ago. So what happened was that for me, I don't celebrate my birthdays. I don't like birthdays at all. I feel it's just age is just a number, right? Yeah. So I think that it's it's something that you don't really I don't really bother about it or anything. So that student of mine, he knew about that fact, like, you know, that Sir Yusuf does not like birthdays and stuff, like he does not appreciate that thing, and he's like, you know, it's okay, easy scene, miss karao. So what happened was that I was just sitting normally at my home. Birthday ka din tha, din ghar pe guzar raha hu, I'm just sleeping, and I'm, you know, very lazy at all. That's what I like to do as well. So my student called me, okay, sir, I'm like, you know, outside your house, please come outside. I was like, why is he outside my house? There's koi baat nahi na, kuch cheez hai. So he was outside my house, and he had like these cakes. He had these cakes, and he had my name written on it, and he had happy birthday written all over it. He had candles with him. He had his younger brother with him as well. Like his younger brother was also like, you know, I had a good conversation with them. So they all came to my house to just celebrate the birthday with me, and they were like, you know, Sir Yusuf, we know that you don't like birthdays, and like you've never celebrated this way, but we want it to be special this time. And that's something that I believe, like, you know, it's very valuable for me as a teacher, because again, something that I've said before in this in the talk is that the teacher and the student relationship is something very important, and it's something that is built on pure trust. It's something that, you know, takes you a very long way, and that is because me as a teacher, I value the fact that the student is going to excel somewhere in life, they're going to achieve new heights. So I have to be that person who plays that role in their life, that later on in life they could also remember me in good words. They could you know, remember me that I've had a good impact on them, and I've had a lasting impact on them. So that student specifically, he had a lasting impact on me, and he had a lasting impact on me in this way that, like, you know, this is something that I remember till this day, and it's something that has happened a year ago. So that's something very special for me.
That's such a memorable moment for you, and I think for all teachers who experienced this. Now, this one's a little interesting. What's the one memorable moment where you had a student taught you something and you have remembered it till day?
So, like, you know, I've had many moments against like these, because you know, teaching is something that teaches you new every day. Every single day it's a new experience for you. Every single day you learn something new. It's either from your subject that you're teaching, or it's either from like the students that you're teaching. You learn something new every day. So I've had like these days where, you know, you just don't feel like doing anything, and you're like, you're very annoyed by everything, and you're very bothered by everything.
I face that a lot.
Exactly, I know, right? And we have those days.
We
all do, and we have those days where, like, you know, everything is disgusting and you don't like anything at all. What's happening.
You don't want to get up.
Everything is bothering you. So I've, like, you know, a student of mine, they just came and sat with me, and they were like, you know, okay, sir, what's wrong? I was like, nothing's wrong. They were like, nahi sir, koi to baat hai, matlab there is something, kuch na kuch to chal raha hai. I was like, how did you know, like, if there is something wrong or kya ho raha hai? So they gave me a very interesting, like, you know, feedback about me, and that is something that I did not expect, was that they're like, sir, aap itne lively se hote hain, itne jolly se hote hain, or like classes are always interesting. But from the past 2-3 days, we've not been enjoying your lessons, and that is something that I really felt. So that student of mine told me that, like, you know, sir, if I'm your student right now, I've learned one thing is that, you know, life's going to be tough, and it's going to be, you know, there's going to be lots of ups and downs. But the most important thing is that, like, specifically when you're around people that you like, they first ask me कि sir आपको हम पसंद है ना, कि मतलब आप हम enjoy करते हैं पढ़ाने के, मैं कहा जी enjoy तो बहुत करता हूँ sir, फिर आप when you come to us, then you have to forget about everything else and just focus with us and have a good time. And that is something, like, you know, that helps you co-op with yourself, and that's something, like, you know, that helps you keeps making you work better and better every day. That's what I believe.
That's such a cute moment, I think. Alright, I'm really curious, as you told about your students, what makes a good student-teacher relation? You have such a good students, and you have such a wonderful relation.
I think this student-teacher relationship is always two-way. Like, मेरे mind में तो ये ऐसा नहीं होता कभी भी कि एक one-way हो. Because at the end of the day, if the teacher itself is doing all the work and is doing all the cooperation, and the students is not doing any cooperation from their side, that won't work out. So it's very important that you develop that trust, that bond, that understanding between the teacher and the student himself. Now, what I think the responsibility of the teacher is that they should be compromising, they should be cooperative as much as possible. Because what I've noticed is, like, what trend I've noticed this in the past few years, or like in my teaching experience, is that, you know, students are very developing. Like, the people of today, they're very developing. They're very different from what we could have say, Gen Z.
They're being more creative.
Exactly, they're more creative, but sometimes they're too creative for your mind to handle. Like, what's going on? What are you guys coming up with? So I feel like the teacher should be at an emotional maturity level of the student itself, and they should come down to the level of the student and try to understand them in their way, how they are processing with things. And once they do that, the student starts developing that trust with that teacher. The student starts valuing that teacher. The student starts getting closer with that teacher, and that's when the student starts cooperating with the teacher as well. So in the point of view of students, I think the student itself, they should give their teachers a chance. Like, they should give their teachers a chance, even if sometimes what happens is that like the teaching industry, teachers keep changing, keep switching. So you have new teachers coming and going, right? So I think like students, if they give their teachers a chance, they learn about them, they start cooperating with them, then the bond only stands only then.
That's such a wonderful bond between a student and a teacher, and I think respect goes both ways.
Exactly, that's very important, and that is only possible if the respect goes both ways. That's when you have a good bond, and that's when I could say that the teacher and the student bond, the relation is very good.
On a serious note, how do you deal with naughty or difficult students?
Oh my God, that is a very personal question, and I feel like I even till date, I do not think if I'm like able to handle them, but what I think is that what I've noticed is that the most effective way, if you could say, if I could say, is that for handling a naughty student is that, in class, you have to try to break the ice with them. Within class, even if they're being naughty, like for example, they're disturbing others, or like, they're interrupting you whenever you're talking, you have to start giving them back. Giving them back in this sense that you've got to be jolly with them, you've got to break the ice with them, you've got to understand them more, you've got to make them feel that they're heard. Because I've noticed one thing is more that these naughty students, they feel like they're not heard much, and that's what they keep on bringing up. They feel insecure about certain things that's going on with them. So you have to break the ice with them, talk to them more, and be fun all around with them. Because once they develop that confidence कि yes, teacher तो हमारी सुन रहा है और वो हमें भी include कर रहा है, even though we are giving teachers such a hard time, but they're like, the teacher is still valuing us. That's when they start understanding you, and that's when they start developing that bond, and then that's when they automatically say कि now the teacher is very good with us, so the least we could do in return is give back to him.
Now for something fun, a quick rapid fire. I want you to answer quickly. Favorite type of student?
The one who completes their work on time. Very generic answer, but I love it. मतलब student time पे पूरा काम करे और क्या चाहिए teacher को?
Most annoying habit of the students?
काम ना करे पूरा time पे, homework ना करे पूरा time पे. Because the thing is that when you're working for an organization, it's more pressure from the organization itself that you have to get the students' work done. So I think that's very difficult, and like when the student does not complete the work, that's very annoying for me.
Okay, lastly, online classes or physical classes?
I hate online classes. I hate them.
I hate them too.
What about you? What do you think about online classes?
I can understand कि हो क्या रहा है class में. It's so unclear and messy.
That's the thing. Like whenever I'm in physical classes, now I have a habit of moving around with my hands a lot. Like I keep moving around with my hands, and today, a student was trying to mimic me and stuff. So, but when you're in physical classes, you can express your emotions much better. You can talk to your students in a much better way. You can keep regaining your the students they keep detracking, and that's something important that you're not able to cover in online classes. Like the other day I was taking online classes, so I was talking to my students. Once I was done with the lesson, you know what he told me? He told me, sir, I was watching Instagram reels. I was like, bro, come on. That's how you're respecting
like when you're face to face, you understand much better rather than in online classes.
I prefer, and the problem is the students themselves prefer physical classes, so I cannot say that I do like online classes.
Okay, lastly, one piece of advice for students that would completely change their life.
I don't know if that would completely change their life, but if for a piece of advice, something that I've learned at a very young age, and something that I'd like to transfer towards my students, and I've discussed this with my students many times. First of all, I think it's very important that you make good friends, because at the end of the day, your friends take you a very long way, and your friends, they have a very lasting impact on you. Because in today's time, I feel that, we are very disconnected with our parents. Why? The reason is because our parents have reached an old age, and we are, like, for example, the new
And there is a
generation, the
huge
younger
generational
generation.
gap.
So there is a very age gap between our parents. Sometimes there's things that we understand, they don't understand. Things that they understand, we don't understand. So there's a very big emotional gap, or there's a very big distance between them. And we spend most of our time with our friends. Like for me, for instance, I spend most of my time with my friends, and I enjoy it a lot. But it's very important we make friends that take us a long way. And in terms of making friends, it's very important you choose friends that they are interested in taking life seriously themselves. Because if your friends are just like to hang out and just to go around and roam around and have fun and come back home and go to sleep, that's not who friends are for. Friends are actually those people who stop you from doing bad and take you towards the good, and they play a very positive impact on yourself. Like, you feel good about yourself. You feel good about yourself when you're around them. So I think friends are very important at the end of the day.
They are important,
And
like in every part of your life, not only in school, like in every part.
exactly. Like, for instance, I started teaching because of my friends. I
Wow.
started teaching because of my friends. I still remember this when I was in my A levels myself. Now I had a problem is that I cannot study. मैं खुद बैठ के नहीं पढ़ सकता. मुझे बहुत बुरा लगता है. I do not like it at all.
Yeah.
And what I started doing was that I used to call my friends. We used to hop on a group call, and we used to sit and study together. We used to keep discussing notes. We used to keep like learning something new. And I feel like that is something that is very important. And these people that I was teaching, right? We still talk to each other. We still meet each other, but on a very good terms.
Okay, thank you for your time. It was an honor to have you here. Thank you for our audience for tuning in. This was AFS Talks. Until next time, Allah Hafiz.